Welcome, everybody. Oh, Tay, if I can have you turn your phone off, that'd be great. Welcome, everyone, to the webinar, Montreal, Idaho Falls, Disney World, Raleigh, North Carolina. Wow, look at everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you're having a great summer so far. Today, we are honored to have a very special guest, Tay Lee, the founder of TRAVO. TRAVO is a free trip planner developed specifically for administrative professionals and travel planning. So we're going to talk to you a little bit more about that in just a moment. But be sure to stay tuned because TRAVO is giving away a $100 Amazon gift card. At some point during this event, you're going to learn about that and how you can enter to win this Amazon gift card. Okay, before I turn the program over, I do have a few logistics to review with you today. The learning portion of this webinar will be about 40 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of question and answer time. You can submit your questions to Tay or Joan during the webinar or hold them until the end of the interview, and you will be able to use the chat box there on the side of your screen to enter those questions, just where you're introducing yourself right now. Okay, keep in mind that we may not be able to answer everybody's questions today. We have a lot of you registered and attending the webinar. You will find a handout for this session, and you can find that at officedynamics.com/handout. We'll put that in the chat box there if you didn't see that in your email message. So you can find the handout, print it ahead of time if you'd like, and follow along during the webinar today on that handout. And finally, just remember, if you're using the chat, to keep your comments positive and make sure they contribute to the topic of the webinar today and to contribute to the conversation. So thank you, everyone. It's great to have you here. Now I would like to introduce Joan Burge, founder and CEO of Office Dynamics International. Joan is an accomplished author, professional speaker, consultant, and corporate trainer. In 1990, Joan created a business in an untapped niche, overcoming monumental obstacles, including managers' attitudes, prejudices, and stereotypes about executive assistants and administrative professionals. Office Dynamics International is a global industry leader providing high-performance, sophisticated executive and administrative assistant training and coaching. Joan's never-ending quest to provide top-notch educational programs to assistants and their executives has earned her the respect of premier clients like Abbott Labs, Cisco, AT&T, Humana, Sunoco, Procter & Gamble, and Nationwide Insurance, just to name a few. Welcome, Joan.
Hi, Jasmine. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. And as usual, I love watching the chat box and seeing where everyone comes, is attending from. It's so exciting. I never get tired of watching that chat and seeing everyone. So welcome, everyone. We are so happy you are here today, and I am very excited to have our guest, TRAVO. As you know, travel planning can be a nightmare for you. In fact, it is a nightmare. I remember for 20 years, it seemed like I spent a lot of time on booking travel only to have to reschedule it, and it really does consume a great deal of your time. It is one of the most taxing aspects of your job. And for many assistants, you not only have to work on business travel for your managers or executives, but many of you also have to plan your executives' personal trips and vacations. So it does consume a great deal of your time. Well, Office Dynamics and TRAVO are very proud and happy to present solutions for you today and really help you address those travel planning nightmares that you seem to encounter. I'm really excited about having Tay Lee here. He is the founder of TRAVO. Jasmine and I have gotten to know Tay over the last several months, and he's an incredible person. So is his entire team. And he really about assistance and their challenges and issues, and most of all, providing solutions and making your life easier. So I'm not going to be talking much today. I am actually going to let Tay take the lead on this. He has a wonderful, informative presentation for you, and we will have time and address your questions later. So I'm going to turn it over to Tay, and actually I'm hoping he might take a minute or two to tell you how he really came up with this and creating TRAVO. So Tay, welcome, and I'm going to just turn it over to you.
Thank you, Joan and Jasmine, for the warm intro, and thank you to all of you for joining our webinar today. I'm joined by a few people on my team, Gabriella Yu, who is our marketing associate, and Susan Schofield, our community manager, and they'll be talking a little bit more about TRAVO later on. My name is Tay Lee, and I founded TRAVO early last year after working for several successful technology firms as an executive. I've always deeply appreciated the great admins I got to work with in my career, and no doubt they helped me not only do more in my career, but even help me gain the inspiration for this product, TRAVO. Long story short, I one day decided to shadow my EA on what she does to actually plan and book a trip. She went through a dozen different websites, not only the sites to book flights, hotels, but also check out traffic conditions to make sure it's viable to get from one meeting to the next. She even had a spreadsheet that kind of just detailed what time I needed to leave to go from one meeting to the next and catch my flight on time to get to my rental car. Literally, she was walking through the entire trip herself to make sure that it all made sense. I gained further appreciation for the difficult job of my admin, but also wondered, why isn't anyone building travel planning technology for admins? So I quit my job, paid myself a healthy salary of $0. Then a month later, my wife got pregnant. Now I have a 1-year-old son, but that's a completely different story. I got a few smart people together who was equally as crazy as I am about this problem, and developed a product that I think cuts down trip planning from hours to just minutes. I'm proud to tell you that since our launch just 2.5 months ago, tens of thousands of travel planning admins have registered and are using our free, very 100% free platform. So let's jump right in. I'm going to do a screen share, and let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that this works here. All right, does everybody see my screen? Oh, hang on one second. Let me try that again. Entire screen. All right. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great. All right. So now when we think about travel, you can break it down to pre-trip, in-trip, and post-trip, etc. Since we only have a limited amount of time today, we're going to talk primarily about pre-trip, which is trip planning, approving, booking, and calendaring. We're also going to build a trip from start to finish on TRAVO, addressing some of the biggest issues you have voiced. And to help follow along, we've given some handouts earlier to the trip that we will be building. So hopefully you have it printed out, but if not, after the call, I'm sure it'll be easy for everybody to review. So here's a scenario that I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with. An executive comes to you and says, I need to meet with Bob in New York and Jane in London. It's simple enough, right? I mean, sounds like they just want to get from point A to point B. However, telepathically, what you're supposed to get out of that conversation is, you have to make sure I get in at New York Tuesday evening, leave on Wednesday after dinner with my parents. Can you also make sure I fly Virgin, British, or American and stay in a Hilton or Hyatt hotel within 1 mile of my meeting? Can you also look into traffic around these times so I know when I need to leave from one place to another? In fact, you should tell me everything I need to do from the moment I leave the office until I get back home. By the way, what's the weather going to be like? So, I don't know about you guys, but I certainly can't read minds. And the best way of solving this daunting task is to be able to walk through the trip end to end. So I know that Jasmine asked all of you, what is the biggest frustration when it comes to planning travel for others? I was able to take the several hundred responses from you guys and boil them down to a few buckets. I think this is going to be a much more engaging presentation, and because we're going to be using your guys' exact quotes for what you think is frustrating and try to solve it with our product, or have some other solutions as well. So I'm happy to say that many of your frustration is something that TRAVO has a solution, or will find a solution in the future. So jumping right in, travel preference, frustrations voiced by you, right? Some people said there sometimes isn't enough input from my executive. Second point, when you're told you decide, I trust you, you know my schedule. Getting all the necessary information together to create a trip is impossible, especially when dealing with larger teams. So I think the key here is to understand someone's travel preferences in detail. Sit down with your traveler and make sure you understand the following major preferences: rewards programs, seating in rooms, high floor, low floor, hotel quality, star ratings, but also user ratings as well, which a lot of people kind of forget. There's plenty of 4-star hotels with very low user ratings. Location transportation, these days you could take a black car, Uber, taxi, public transit. There's a lot of different choices for transportation. Timing, number of minutes to arrive before a meeting and a flight. Same day versus multi-day arrival times, which is different, right? If you're doing same day, you're trying to get into a meeting maybe at 11 a.m. Versus flying the night before, which you might have a little bit more flexibility. International versus domestic preferences are also different, right? The amount of time that the executive needs to get to the airport, for example, is different. And of course, price sensitivity, as people have to just kind of be able to say, I'm the type of flyer that really loves comfort, or I'm the type of flyer that really, cares about saving a lot of money for the company. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Gabby, who is going to go through TRAVO as a solution. And yeah, and there you go, Gabby. And if you want to be go to the slide, it's right here, okay?
Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us. I'm just going to be shadowing Tay and going over how TRAVO can help you with those pain points that you've already mentioned to us. So if you already printed out the handout, you can follow along by turning to page 5. Slides 3 and 4 are just some basic intro on how to create your TRAVO profile. So if you have any questions about that, you can always refer to those slides or email us at help@travo.com. Okay, so this is the TRAVO landing page. To open up your preferences, in the upper right-hand corner, click your name and click Preferences. Here on the left-hand side is where you can see all of the profiles that you've created. If you would like to add a new profile, go ahead and click Add New Profile. So I'll go ahead and make one for Tay. Okay. And click a name if you want to create a profile or a preference specifically for that traveler. And so here is where you can add travel preferences. Tay only likes to fly in an aisle seat. You can go ahead and write that here in the notes section. And then you can also add their specific work and home addresses. And this is so that you don't have to keep track of Tay lives here, but Jane lives here, and Susan lives here. All of those preferences are saved in the TRAVO account itself. And then here is the timing section. So as Tay was saying, there's a lot of moving parts, especially when traveling to domestic versus international. So for domestic flights, we assume most people like to arrive 60 minutes before their flights. And then if you click here on that, change to international, you can see that we assumed that people like to arrive 2 hours before their flights. And this is entirely customizable depending on your traveler and how much comfort they would like to have in between their meetings and their flights. And then as soon as you make all of these preferences and click Save, we will automatically update that in your TRAVO profile, and any itinerary you create moving forward will have these new timing preferences. So this is the General Preferences tab, but there are also tabs for air, lodging, and ground, and this is going to be where you input their specific brand preferences. So if I go ahead and click air, you can see that we have all of the major preferred airlines in the world. We put the most popular ones here at the top, but if you click Show All, you'll see a complete list. And let's say Tay likes to fly Emirates airline. If you click it and then hit Save, in the future, he will always be offered an Emirates flight if it's available. And then we also received a lot of requests from our users that were government Fly America Act option. So if you go to the flight tab and click Fly America Act active, all of your future trips will have your flights automatically filtered so that you will only be assigned and only see Fly America Act compliant flights. I'm only going to go over the air tab of these of preferences. Lodging and ground work in exactly the same way, but again, if you have any questions, just feel free to email us at help@travo.com.
I'm going to stop 1 second. Can we back up for just a minute? And could you explain how do they get themselves set up themselves? Like how, as an assistant, do they get set up as the user? How do they sign up and log in to TRAVO?
Yeah, of course.
Because right, we just jumped into how I set up my executive, but how do I get started?
Yeah, okay. Let me go ahead and log out of my current account, and I'll show you kind of the from scratch steps. So if you just go to travo.com without your own login, in the upper right hand side there's a sign up button. So if you click sign up, all we need is your name and your email address. So I can do Gabriella and travo.com. And since I already have an account, it's going to say I already have an account. But if you were to click sign up for free, you'll receive an email from us with some login instructions. And if you follow that, you'll see a link that'll help you confirm your account and then create your password. And that's already your first TRAVO account that'll automatically be in your profiles. And so that's what you saw when I first went into my preferences.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and relog back in now.
Yeah, and while she's doing that, it's also in this handout slide as well in terms of instructions to log in.
Slides 3 and 4 go over creating an account and also some commonly asked questions that people have when they're creating their accounts. Okay, so I'm going to turn it back to Tay to move on with this.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Gabby. So as you can see, TRAVO has a lot of different preferences, and the idea of this entire product is to keep everything in one place. I think having to go through a bunch of different websites and Google Doc, I think that is just very, very complicated. So we try to make everything, all the information in one place to do your planning and booking. Itinerary frustrations, voiced by you, so that's our next section. People said multi-city destination planning is always challenging. Sometimes there's a lack of knowledge of out-of-state or out-of-country venues and hotels. Accounting for differences in time zones. I'm not going to go through all this, but there's a lot of different frustrations that people have with the itinerary building. And fortunately, this is where TRAVO really shines. And we're going to spend a little bit more time on this section because right now, this is what TRAVO does really, really well. So the key to building a itinerary is, like I said before, walk through it. How to do that? We always kind of start with the flights, right? Looking at the flights that get in on time for the event. It's important to get a traveler to his or first commitment on time. But the way you do that is you have to think about every single segment of your trip. Traffic conditions, if the executive wants a rental car, right, you got to figure out how many minutes it's going to take to pick up that rental car. And again, those wait times are different between whether you're getting it through Hertz or Firefly or whatever rental car. So you got to keep all those things in mind. Hotel relative to events, the distance of where your manager needs to be is extremely important. You got to also consider hotel density as well. Places like New York, your manager will say, hey, how come you didn't get me a hotel right down the street because there's 20 hotels around my meeting area. If you are in kind of Bloomington, Indiana, for example, where I went to school, there's not a ton of hotels around that area. Different ride options equals different timing, right? Rental cars, for example, take time to pick up. Uber has surge pricing, but Uber, you also have to wait for people to find you, which takes about 10 minutes sometimes. Taxi availability is high but uncomfortable. Black car is uncomfortable but expensive. So you have all these, all these different, gives, right, for different ride options. Multi-meeting order management. So, if your executive is giving you the luxury to say, hey, I just need to meet with these people in New York, I feel like it's always impressive if somebody were to say, well, this is the order that you should meet these people, because based on the traffic conditions or based on the distance, this is the easiest and the most comfortable way for you to make all of your meetings. And I think that's really important. Consider driving issues, right? Direction of traffic depends on time. TRAVO actually, fortunately, does a lot of this stuff, and Gabby's going to share with you how we try to solve that problem. So there you go, Gabby.
All right, cool. And so this part of the presentation is going to be a lot of the TRAVO demo. So if at any point any of you have any questions, just say it in the chat and I'll go through and address them as much as possible. Or if you would like me to slow down, I have been told that I can speak a little bit quickly. So just let me know and I'm more than happy to take it a little bit slower. So if you turn to page 7 of your handouts, I've created a sample itinerary that we're going to be creating today. And if you wanted to follow along with us or just kind of like watch on the screen so you know what we're doing, that should help a lot and help you see how best to use the TRAVO tool. So the prompt that we were given is I need to meet with Bob in New York and Jane in London. And so they have a total of 5 meetings, 3 of which are in New York and 2 are in London. And a lot of the comments that we got and a lot of frustrations that we received from you guys was it's super hard to make multi-city itineraries, and also compensating for different time zones can be extremely confusing. So this sample itinerary will really just help you see how much TRAVO can help you in that travel planning process. So my first meeting is going to be at 100 Park Avenue in New York on August 2nd from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And you don't need to do any sort of time conversions, just enter everything in the local time zone. On the left-hand side, there's a pencil here. If you click it, you can add a meeting name. And that way your manager or your boss can see easily which meeting they're going to at this time. And then right above this meeting box, you can see an arrive on date. So normally I would like to give my manager a day to kind of like acclimate, especially if there's going to be a time zone change. Not only is flying exhausting, but if you have to account for like a 3 or a 4 or even like a 12-hour time zone shift, you want to make sure that they're their best for their meetings. And so then I'm going to add my next meeting at 52 East 41st Street, Boston, New York. August 2nd from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then I'm also going to name this one Dinner with my parents. And my third and last meeting in New York is on August 3rd at 600 3rd Avenue. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. And it's going to be called Lunch at Shake Shack. And then so my next couple of meetings are going to be in London. And like I said, this is really going to be where TRAVO shines. Typically, if you were to try and create an itinerary from New York to London, you'd have to work backwards. So if my meeting is going to be August 4th at 7 p.m. in British time, what is that in Eastern time? Okay, how many hours is the flight? They need 2 hours to get to the airport and check in. What time do they need to leave their hotel? It's a lot of mental calculation, and there's a lot of room for error. So TRAVO makes that whole process instantaneous. You don't need to do any of that additional thinking yourself. And it's just going to make everything much, much easier. So let's go ahead and add our next meeting at SC1 1RQ, Southwark Street, New York, or not New York, London, on August 4th from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it'll be dinner with Jane And then my next meeting is at 19A Borough High Street, London, United Kingdom, on August 5th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that is my meeting with Jane. So you can add pretty much any number of events in any number of cities, but for now we're just going to stick with these 5 in these 2 cities. Once you've added all of your events, go ahead and click Start. And you can see, okay, this is my departure address, and that's saved from my profile. And then you can add how many travelers you would like to book for and choose the flight class. For now, I'm just going to leave it at 1 traveler flying economy just to keep it simple. And then you can also change your return address and your return date. So I'm going to give them an extra day as well, so flying back on August 6th. So once you've finalized all of these itinerary details, added all of your meetings, you can go ahead and click Plan Trip to Events. And this will cause TRAVO to run through its whole travel algorithm. So this is searching for all of the best flights, going through all of the hotels in the area of your meetings and making sure that they're within an optimal distance, and then also going through ground transportation. So it's finding you not just pricing, but also turn-by-turn directions as well as expected traffic, so that you can create literally end-to-end the perfect itinerary for your manager, so that they have all of the information they need when they're trying to do a business trip. Okay, so this is going to be your main itinerary screen. And so we wanted to make it as easily recognizable as possible. So we designed it after Outlook and Google Calendar, because we assume that all of you are pretty familiar with those 2 apps. So here in the middle is your calendar, and you can see, okay, there's a 28-minute drive to the airport, and then this is my flight. And as you can see, we have added your personal preferences to the itinerary. So I wrote in my preference that I like to arrive to the airport 60 minutes before my flight. And as you can see here, there's a 60-minute buffer built in. And if I scroll down to my London flight, I said that I like to arrive 2 hours before my flight. And as you can see, there's a 2-hour buffer here. So that way there's no extra thinking like, okay, what time do I need to leave my airport, or not my airport, my hotel or my previous meeting to get to the airport and make my flight. You can easily change your time zone by clicking up here. Right now we're in Pacific time because that was my home address. But you can change it to London time or any of these other time zones. And then if you wanted to see more details about your complete itinerary, you can go ahead and click 3-day view, and it would cause your calendar to take over the map and show you as much information about your trip as possible. So now you can see what your manager is going to be doing every day for 3 days. And each of these blank spaces works like Outlook. So if you wanted to add a meeting, go ahead and click, and you'll have the option to add another event. Here on the left-hand side is going to be your main navigation bar. So right now we're in the itinerary view, but if you wanted to see more information about each leg of your trip, you can click flight, lodging, or ground to get a full list of the TRAVO recommended options, as well as the option to change to a different brand or a different time. And then here, we had a lot of requests from admins and trip planners who are having to fly internationally a lot. It's like they never know what visas they need or what the rules are for customs and stuff. So we added this little passport. So if you were to click this, it would open up to a visa information site. So you can enter your start address and end address and see all of the steps that you or your manager needs to take to prepare them for an international trip. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and customize our itinerary by viewing the Flights tab. So this is going to be on page 10 and 11 of your handout. So if you click Flight, you'll see a summary of all of your TRAVO recommended flights. And the best thing about TRAVO is once you've said, I prefer this brand or these specific brands, the algorithm will do everything in its power to assign a flight or a hotel within those brand preferences. So when I was creating my profile, I said that I would like to fly American or British Airlines. And as you can see, TRAVO has already assigned me flights that fit those search parameters. But I'll go ahead and click Change Flight so you can see a complete list of flights that fit with my schedule from Los Angeles to New York. So here on the left are your basic filters. So you can say, all right, my manager only likes to fly nonstop flights. So you click out of these, and you can see a complete list of all of those flights. There's also the ability to add a budget. So like Tay was saying, some managers prefer comfort, and some people prefer just traveling on as strict a budget as possible. So that's how you can set those parameters. And then there's also the ability to filter by airlines. So in case you haven't set up preferences yet, you can always just filter by airlines here on the left-hand side. We've also added this preview schedule up here. So that way, as you hover over each flight, you can see how it's going to interact with your manager's meetings and make sure that they have more than enough time to get in between the airport and the meeting, and maybe even have time for a nap or a meal in between. I'm going to leave this flight because it is my American Airlines preferred flight. But if at any time you find a better flight or one that works better with your manager's schedule, you can always just click select, and TRAVO will automatically update your itinerary, change all of those flights, change all of the timing, and change all of your driving directions to accommodate that change in your preferences. So I'm going to hit back to be taken back to the selected flight summary page. And these two flights are going to work exactly the same way that I just showed you with the Los Angeles to the JFK flight. All you need to do is click change flight to see a complete list of all of the flights that work with your meetings. And then after you select your ideal flight, you can always click these brand names to reveal a drop down to see, okay, who can I buy this from? And so this is actually very important. If you don't work with a corporate travel agent, but you do have to book through like a reputable online travel agency, you can compare prices here on TRAVO and decide which travel agency works best for you, or you can book directly through the airline themselves. And so we give you just a breakdown of the prices right there. And then if you're ready to check out, you can click checkout to see a full summary of all of the TRAVO selected flights, hotels, and ground transportation option. But we'll go over the TRAVO checkout a little bit more in detail later in the presentation. All right, cool. So we're going to move on to changing lodging. And these are going to be slides 12 and 13 of your handouts. And again, if I'm moving too quickly, please let me know. I have been told that I can talk very quickly. But if you click lodging, you'll be taken to a summary of the hotel that TRAVO has selected. And in my preferences, I had initially said I prefer Hilton hotels, which is why it has automatically assigned me a Hilton hotel. So that's, again, just another great part of TRAVO. It takes a lot of the additional searching and filtering that you would have to be doing. Once you create a profile, we do everything in our power to make sure that the itinerary we create for you fits those preferences and your profile. So here you can see we are looking at the hotel in London, but if you click any of these arrows, you'll be able to toggle in between each city and see the hotel that we've assigned you in that particular city. Here you can see the star rating. So this is a 4-star hotel. It costs $125 a night. And then these are the amenities they offer. So they have free toiletries, Wi-Fi, a business center, and a gym. And then you can also see more details about the hotel. If you wanted to change the hotel or see the other options within that city, go ahead and click Change Hotel. And this is a really cool part because you can easily see where the hotels are in relation to your meetings. And so we try and cluster the hotels near the biggest clump of your meetings so that we can make sure that you're never driving more than a couple miles for each event. Okay, here at the top is going to be your filters. So you can change the number of rooms you would like, price per room. All of the basic filters are here at the top. Or if you have a particular hotel, if your manager has one, you can go ahead and click search hotels by name. And then if you filter over any of these tiles or hover over them, you'll see them on the map. And clicking select will change to that hotel in your itinerary. And anytime you change, again, TRAVO will just rerun its search algorithm, get you the optimal directions, include check-in times and stuff like that. Okay, and so the last part of the itinerary customization is going to be the ground tab. So click ground. So here you can see the estimated Uber pricing for New York. and then also for London. And anytime you hover over an Uber route, you'll see it on the map. So it's very easy to see where you're going and why it's costing that amount. If you click change ground, you'll see, okay, Uber is supposed to cost about $69, which is why it was chosen over a rental car, which is going to cost $94. So that way it's very easy for you to see, okay, not only is Uber a more comfortable choice, but it is also the cheaper choice. Okay, so that's all the customization options for your travel itinerary. Once you finish customizing your itinerary, you can click checkout, and you'll just see a quick breakdown of everything that you just went through on the flight, lodging, and ground tab, broken down by city. So in New York, you're going to be flying American Airlines, an Uber, and staying in the Grand Hyatt. And if you're ready to book, just click any of these book now links to be redirected to your preferred booking site. So I know we went through that pretty quickly. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments or just email us at help@travo.com.
Cool, and we'll talk a little bit more about booking later, because right now the site itself, we just redirect you to a third-party website to make it easier, but we have some surprises that we'll talk about today that's going to make that much, much easier. So moving along, the next thing is travel communication frustrations voiced by you. So approval, we've heard that is very, very difficult. Getting travelers to make decisions is difficult. Travelers not really knowing what they want until they see it is another frustration. So, the key here is to communicate effectively, right? And the way you do that in terms of trip planning is, in order to get approval, send in a proposal itinerary with the hotel, flight, ground transportation, and a timeline of how your executive trips look like, right? People are very visual, and if they see all those things, I think they'll be able to approve it much, much easier because it makes sense in their heads. Make changes easy. You guys heard of this, I trust you, do what you need to do, and then it turns into, do you have anything in the morning? And then it turns into, I like the Marriott in Dallas, can you check that price, right? So, having the different options, I think, is easy. And as you saw from the itinerary builder, if you send the trip to your manager for approval, they'll actually be able to see the entire thing and make changes there themselves as well. And it's going to be much, much easier for people to communicate back and forth. Follow up frequently to get approved. You guys all know this. I don't think a lot of the executives do, is that prices and availabilities change rapidly, right? In real time, 15, 30 minutes sometimes. Sometimes reserve without approval. A lot of hotels, a lot of rental car reservations are very flexible in terms of cancellations. So if you're waiting for people to approve a trip, go ahead and reserve it. But make sure you put a reminder in your calendar to cancel or confirm that later, because you don't want to, you don't want that trip to or that hotel charge to actually happen. Replicate trips that work. Survey your manager after the meeting or after the trip, and see if he or she liked the place that you recommended, right? And if he did, I'm sure that they're going to go to that place another time, and you can just replicate what works. So with communicate effectively, this is going to be a really quick session. Gabby's going to show you how we do that in TRAVO.
Okay, so many of the travel communication frustrations that you shared with us and that Tay just went over can easily be solved using the TRAVO admin toolbox here on the itinerary page. So here at the bottom, there are 5 different buttons: Save Itinerary, Export to Word Doc, Share, Export to Calendar, and Send for Approval. So if you were to click Send for Approval, your manager would receive an email with a quick summary of all of they would need about this trip. So there's a subtotal at the top, and then also like flight costs, hotel costs, and ground costs for each city. And then there's also an approve and decline button. So as soon as your manager says, like, this is great, I'm ready to book this, and hit approve, you'll receive an email so you know that you're good to go. So that makes that whole approval process much, much easier. Or if they want to make any changes, you can easily go ahead and have them email you back, and you can change the flight, lodging, or ground, like exactly how we just showed you. You can save itinerary for future use, so that'll help take care of replicating trips. So anytime you save an itinerary, if you go here, click My Trips, you'll see all of your saved itineraries, and if you click this little double rectangle, you'll be able to change the start date And all of these meetings and end dates will automatically update so that you don't have to go through and do that manually. And then also their preferred options from the previous time you booked it will be saved. So that way if they liked Lufthansa or they liked the Arcata Hotel Prague, they can automatically be assigned into those hotels the next time you book this trip. You can export to your calendar. So this is for Google Calendar as well as any calendar application that takes ICS files. So you can export to any Google Calendar that you have admin access to, or download an ICS file and import it directly into their Google Calendar. And this will include a bunch of the TRAVO information as well as for ground transportation if they're going to be driving themselves. There'll be a link to Google Maps with turn-by-turn directions. And then if you click Export to Word Doc, they'll have a printable itinerary with, again, all of this information on all of the timing and any notes that you may include. And then the last button here is the Share button. So a lot of times your managers, partners, or friends would like to know what their itineraries are going to be. So if you click Share, you'll be able to send to them essentially this exact screen where they can see, okay, they're going to be free at this time. Why don't I schedule a meeting with them or try and hang out with them at this time? So it's really easy to share your TRAVO itineraries. It makes communication much, much easier. And then if you wanted to see more details about any of these tools, they're located on pages 17 through 20 of your handout.
Thanks so much, Gabby. So the next thing is booking frustrations. Finding the best prices for different flights is difficult. Finding the best deals. Too many fees when changing or canceling bookings is what we heard. And in terms of booking, you got to do it efficiently, but also safely as well, right? Comfort first, price second. Usually is cheapest is rarely better in business travel. People like to have a good balance of both. Consider all options and place the comfort of your executive first. Extra fees, watch out for baggage fees, seat fees, room fees, resort fees. There's so many fees now. Book through a trusted. If purchasing publicly available rates, use a reputable site or book directly with an airline or hotel. If you're purchasing through exclusive corporate rates, ensure that the customer service is great, and you could do that by actually just calling them and calling their customer service and just testing it out. Flexible bookings. Flights should be cancelable within 24 hours of booking. Hotels cancelable within 24 hours of stay. Car rentals, no commitment necessary. And don't pay up front if you don't have to. So, I know a lot of sites out there, maybe some of the, more of the, leisure websites force you to pay right away. But it really, in corporate travel, you're really trying to manage an agile business where schedules change all the time. And I think, flexible bookings is key. Now, this is where I said to you guys a second ago as we were doing the presentation that currently right now TRAVO takes you to one of our trusted third-party booking partners. And however, in the future, we are planning to roll something out that is really, really exciting for me to share with you guys today. It's called TRAVO Preferred. And it's, we're aiming for Q4 of this. And basically what it's going to do is it'll give everybody who's booking business travel, up to 20% off published rates that you can't find anywhere else. They're exclusive pre-negotiated rates for hotels, flight, and ground. Flexibility, like I said, is key. All the flights are going to be cancelable within 24 hours of booking. Hotels are going to be cancelable 24 hours before stay. And for car rentals, you won't even need to put in your credit card. 24/7 on-call service, emergency services will always be available, and of course, bringing more things in the middle of this really magical tool. Having receipts, credit cards, loyalty number, profiles, like all in one place. I think it's going to be a fantastic tool and something that I'm really excited about. And the best thing is, again, as everything that is with TRAVO.com, it's going to be 100% free. The only thing is that, we do have a wait list of people joining this, but fortunately, you guys are one of the first to hear it. So right now, we're going to take a quick survey through SurveyMonkey. Jasmine's going to send a link, I believe, on the chat, and we'll take just 2 minutes. It's a 4-question survey, specifically. or be considered for the $100 Amazon gift card, go ahead and fill that out. So Jasmine, we'll just take 2 minutes.
It'll just take me one moment here, Tay. So I will get that up here in just a moment.
Okay.
So while you're doing that, I'll just interject here. There are so many questions today. I know definitely we're not going to be able to answer all of them today. And I know Jasmine's going to guide that conversation. But I also made a few notes of ones that have been asked repeatedly that I really hope we could address in our time with the group.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, are you able to go over by 5 minutes if we have people who want to stay on? Because it seems like there's just a lot of interest, and it also looks like you're going to have some work for yourself cut out by the questions that have been asked.
Yeah.
So if they're not part of TRAVO right now,
Right.
and my guess, Jasmine, are you still working on it?
No, survey link is now up.
Okay, great. I'll let you take over.
Okay, so Tay, while that survey link is up, do you mind if we do some Q&A?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay. Let's see here. So this is probably the most amount of questions that I've ever seen at any one given time. But one of the big ones, Tay, is about how TRAVO can either work with Concur, or what is TRAVO versus Concur. Can you explain that a little bit to the people who use that as their in-house travel booking provider?
Absolutely, and by the way, one thing, and that's a very good question. One thing that our tool is designed to is to work with anything that you currently use in-house. We are currently not a corporate travel agency, so we're not looking to replace Concur or Agencia or any of these guys, unless, of course, if you guys are interested in Travel Preferred, which is kind of helping the whole booking and everything, just making it much, much easier, right? But, as you saw from the demo, the key value proposition for you guys is to be able to plan a trip from start to finish. Now, it's a little bit difficult, I guess, as you kind of use the different corporate tools, because what you're going to need to do is take those, take the flights, the hotels that you found, and actually try to book those flights on some of these other corporate booking platforms. So that's one way of doing it for all those people who are using the travel agency tools. Obviously, with this Travel Preferred product, we'll be able to replace some of that. But to be honest, those other guys, they do a great job of doing everything from like expense reporting, to employee restrictions around, the spending policies and stuff like that. And that's just something that, we're not really going to touch that much, right? We just want to make it very simple, start to finish. And, if it's a jump off point for you for the booking, then you can actually print the itinerary out in detail and make those bookings and confirm those bookings through whatever partner that you decide, just like it's being used right now, right? With travel.com, we currently take you off to booking.com or Hotwire, one of these sites, and you just do the bookings yourself through a third-party platform, whatever the third-party platform may be.
Okay. Yes. Now, another question for you, Tay. Everyone, I'm seeing a lot of questions on just location-wise. Is this available outside of the United States?
Yes, absolutely. I think there's a couple of countries where we've turned it off for now because some more technical issues. We're trying to expand this as fast as possible, but all of Europe should work, most of Asia should work, and certainly North America should work for sure.
Okay, great. That's great to know. And also the security, as TRAVO expands and you start to become that booking platform. They're able to book on TRAVO. What about the security of storing credit cards and information such as that sensitive info?
So yeah, that's a great question. So there's so many layers of security to this product. So first of all, every single page that you see is SSL protected, right? So there's very low chance that somebody will be able to hack into at a technical level. In terms of credit cards and everything, we are DSS PCI compliant, which is kind of the highest level compliancy across anybody that's collecting credit card information, right? The other thing is, if you look at our privacy policy, it states there that we will never sell your information for advertising third-party purposes, right? And again, like, this is if you could kind of feel like this product is free and everything that we're trying to do for administrative professionals, because I do feel like there should be definitely more technology available for administrative professionals. The overall goal here is not to compromise security, and it's one of the highest priorities.
Great, that's great. I'm getting a little bit of echo here, Tay, when I speak. I don't know if it's just the volume on that end, but we're getting some people mentioning that they're getting an echo now. Okay, so let's see here. Also, a great question that we're seeing, and I think people are just curious, is how does TRAVO make money if all of this is free?
Well, the great thing about the story that I told you guys in the beginning is that we are venture backed. There's a lot of great investors behind us who also believe that there should be technology for administrative professionals, and because of that, we were able to offer a lot of these services free and constantly take a loss. Now, you might be asking, well, at some point you guys are gonna have to make money, and absolutely that is the key. And the way that we would do that is, if a lot of people are using this product, right, then we could actually go and get deals similar to what we're trying to do with Travel Preferred, where we get pre-negotiated rates from the hotels and be able to offer our customers rates that they can't find anywhere else, right? And with those kind of partnerships, we'll also be able to get, we'll be able to collect a fee from the hotel chain or from the airline carrier. But that's kind of the discipline that I want to carry on with fees and pricing around this product. Is I want to make sure that it's beneficial to the end user, and as long as it's beneficial to the end user, and we take a little bit of a cut for it, that's how we're planning to make money long term.
Great. Okay, and I know you may have slides you want to go through there, Tay, before we get to the very end of our webinar. So if that's the case, I think the majority of our group has done the survey, and I'll just keep pushing that out there for those of you who haven't seen it. I'll let you go ahead and take back over.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And we only have a couple of slides here left, so we'll breeze through this, because I do respect everybody's time. Last minute changes, frustrations. This is the last thing. Constant schedule changes ruin an itinerary. Last minute booking arrangements is really hectic. Many changes happen during the trip or day of. Always plan for last minute changes, right? We got to be able to recalculate every change. And as you saw from the demo, you could put in events, you could put in new meetings, you could change those meeting times, and everything is in front of you, and it's going to recalculate everything from start to finish. Value flexible fares. I know a lot of websites out there, you pay now and it's cheaper. Believe me, it's not worth it most of the times. It's always better to pay a little bit more to get that flexible rate. Last minute changes depend on your manager, industry, and type of work. Obviously, the smart thing to do here is to calculate the percentage of times that this occurs and book with flexibility in mind. Confirm hotel room on the day of check-in. This is important, and I'm sure you guys who do a lot of travel planning do this already, is, people have preferences, high floor, low floor, all this stuff, and sometimes they can't fit those people in, right, in the hotels. But if you call between 10 a.m. and 1 o'clock local of that hotel, when a lot of people are checking out, they try to accommodate people to keep them happy. And lastly, be alert during the trip. Look out for emails, text messages, airline cancellations, all this stuff. And of course, with our travel preferred product, we'll be, we're looking to do all these different things in managing changes. But we do some of it right now. So Gabby's going to go through very, very quickly some of the things that we do for last minute changes.
Yeah, so once you've created an itinerary and you save it, I'll go ahead and save it right now. You have the option of always being able to go back and reopen it. And so when you reopen an itinerary, it's loaded in a static view, which means that your flights and lodging are going to be staying the same even after you add a meeting. However, if you do add a meeting that requires a new flight, TRAVO will notify you and then will help you rerun the entire search. So it becomes really, really easy to add new meetings. And again, all of those mental calculations are done for you by TRAVO.
And you might be wondering why it's static is because 2 weeks later that hotel's not going to be available, the pricing's going to be different and everything like that.
Yeah. So that's pretty much it. We basically added this feature because a lot of people like to say, okay, my manager wants to get in on Monday and leave Friday, but is going to be adding meetings kind of as he goes. So we just wanted to make it as flexible a tool as possible for all of you.
Great. Last thing I want to say is, this is great for us, and hopefully great for you guys. The travel concierge service is for people who just need help with any kind of trip planning. We're here for you guys. It's completely free. Again, if anything, it gives us a first glimpse into how you guys plan travel and helps us develop a better product. The way that we got to where we are today is because of working with administrative professionals like yourself, working with and everybody else in the administrative professional arena, constantly getting feedback, figuring out what's important, and it's just been a beautiful process. So, to continue on with that, obviously, if you have any feedback for us as well, Gabriella at TRAVO.com or Susan, our community manager at TRAVO.com, can answer any questions that you have. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a list of all the questions that we weren't able to get to, and with the email addresses, and we'll be able to personally respond one by one. And the last thing is, if you want a personal demo of this, or if you have some coworkers who might be interested, we're more than happy to talk about TRAVO again and be able to answer any questions that anybody on this presentation, anybody on this call has. So with that, that's kind of the end of the travel part. I could take a couple more questions, or I don't know what we have time for, but I leave that up to Joan and Jasmine.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to reiterate, Tay, that we will be keeping that survey open, or that you'll be keeping that survey open for the next 24 hours. So everyone that has been on the webinar that either didn't get the survey link or had trouble with the survey for any reason at all, not that I've seen that, but if that's the case, you do have 24 hours to complete that survey to enter to win the $100 Amazon gift card. If you're watching the replay within the 24 hours of the live broadcast, you will also be entered to win if you complete that survey. And another question that we've been getting, Tay, is if people can get a copy of the PowerPoint slides. So I'll leave that up to you. I know they're asking so they can have that as backup to their handout. I'm not sure if there's anything in the PowerPoint that they need that's not in the handout. So I'll let you guys decide on that one. And then as far as one more thing I want to announce before we go offline or stay online for a few more questions is that we do have an offer for everyone on the webinar today. If they are interested in the topic of travel planning and they want more on travel planning, we do have a webinar that Joan recorded previously last year, and that's travel planning from A to Z. It's different than what we talked about today. It's really about the travel planning process and working with your executive on the travel planning and knowing all the ins and outs of it, and Joan has a checklist and everything for you. So if you're interested in that, we're deeply discounting that for the next 48 hours, and that's available in our web store. I'm going to ask our webinar administrator to go ahead and get that product link up for you, and the code to get that discount on the travel planning from A to Z is TRAVEL, TRAVEL, AVEL. It's all capitals, and we'll send that in a follow-up email as well so that you have that information. But we just wanted to put that out there for you. Thank you, as a thank you for attending the webinar with us in TRAVO today. And then we just want to go ahead and thank Tay as well and his team for being on the line with us and being part of this webinar. We've had such a great response. There's a lot of interest in this tool and a lot of questions, Tay, are around whether, if they say they use Amex Travel, will this help? And I think I saw it in the comments about how this is a great way to do your trip research as well. So can you explain that a little bit more? I know you covered it when you talked about Concur, but that seems to be a question that keeps popping up.
Yeah, and it works with Amex Travel or any platform that you're currently using. You know, again, the part that this product really helps currently right now, if you take Travel Preferred out, which is all the booking stuff, is planning and also, you know, communicating with the manager. You know, you guys should all go and check out the Word document export because it puts it in a fantastic one-pager. You could, you know, change it to a PDF, you know, doing all that communication. Sometimes finding the flight and the hotel that's available is very, very difficult. And we also have a button at the checkout. It says send to your booking agent, which is actually made for people who are using Amex Travel. Because if you do have an agent or somebody that is responsible for booking at American Express, then you could just click on that button. And when you click on that button, you have a field that says export or send to your booking agent, and they will get that email, right? And they'll be able to, you know, go ahead and make the booking. So, you know, there's a lot of tools in there. And again, that button is on the right-hand side of the checkout page. Here, I don't know if you guys are still able to see it. Send to your booking agent right here. You click on that. You could basically send it, and they'll get the complete itinerary to make the booking or to replicate the booking. Okay.
Oh, that's excellent. Great. Wonderful. Joan, did you want to jump into with any additional questions that you've seen? Let's see here. You're muted, so if you want to unmute. Okay.
I think you covered several of them. Let me see. There was one about their company gets negotiated rates, so, but it sounds like that's the next step, right, that you're going to be offering.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, you could compare those rates. I mean, we'll probably, you know, I think we have a good chance of beating rates as well. But you know, again, the difference between our preferred product is that it's not exclusive, right? Like, we're not trying to go to a company and say, hey, use our product and only this product, right? We're not trying to put restrictions on people. It's just whatever is easiest for you, right? We want to enable that, right? And if some people want to use our product and other parts of the organization use, you know, Concur or some of these other things, that's totally fine as well.
Okay. I thought there was a good idea. Somebody asked, are you ever going to add information about where hospitals are, that they provide, you know, letting their executive know where the nearest hospitals are, which I know I like that information, you know, in case something happens while I'm traveling.
Yeah, and you know, there's a short-term solution for that, which is, you know, we're thinking about putting a search bar on the maps there because we're actually partnered with Google, and on the search bar you could search anything from hospitals to pharmacies to cafes or wherever it is, and you just kind of see where everything is around the map. So, you know, we're absolutely planning to do that.
Okay, great. Well, it's kind of overwhelming in terms of all the questions. There's just so many of them out there, and I know, you know, our goal today was to give everyone an overview of all the capabilities. So I know they had a lot of questions that, you know, would go into deeper levels of detail. And so I know that first exposure is like, whoa, a little overwhelming, but it really is a very easy tool to use. It just offers so much. So what would be your final words to them to encourage them to go to TRAVO and start digging into it? I mean, where should they go from here to
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. Go to TRAVO.com. There's a set of tutorial videos at the top, and it just has a quick start guide. It has every single thing that you need to kind of set up an entire trip. We have handouts for you guys. You can walk through those as well. In addition to that, again, if you want a personal training or anything, we have people here who can absolutely help with anything, any questions that you guys have. And think about it this way: it's not a trouble at all, because if you ask us questions, we kind of understand more about what you guys are interested in, and we're constantly improving this product, right? And making it better for you, right? And that's the overall goal here, is to make it perfect for you guys to use it every single time, right? The reason why we partner with Joan and Jasmine, by the way, is that just by talking to a lot of different other organizations, they are very, very genuine in terms of trying to help administrative professionals get training, right? And you guys should view us the same way in terms of our culture and what our value and the goals are here. So, yeah.
And thank you. And I just thought of one more thing, that if anyone is attending our conference in Las Vegas in October, you're going to be here.
I'm so excited.
Have an area set up, so any of you who are out there and are going to attend our conference October 10th through the 13th in Las Vegas, TRAVO is going to be there, and you'll be able to sit and talk with them face to face, and they'll walk you through things. So we're very excited about that as well, and looking forward to seeing all of you in October. So I want to just thank everyone. I know we could have chatted and gone on for another hour, but really, thank you so much for this very informative session, and I just want to thank everyone for taking time out of their busy day today, and hope they found it very valuable. So thank you. And Jasmine, I guess that's it, right?
That's it. Just keep your eyes peeled for some emails from me following the webinar. And of course, if you have any questions that weren't answered during the webinar that we can't be addressed by just checking TRAVO out, then please do email me, and we'll get you connected with Tay and his team. And we'll just thank you again for everyone for tuning in, and Tay and Gabby and Susan and Joan, all for being here with us today. We really appreciate it, and we will be seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.